But yeah, so it's from the same creator from Blackberry and Honey, and from what I saw, there are no tags saying that there's nudity or sexual content, so this should be a lot safer to show than it was to show the other game. So we should not need the censor bar. And this focuses on girls who are, I think they're historically meant to represent, I think they're supposed to represent actual historical poets, except they're girls. And I'm not sure if there's actual romance in it, but it's all focused on girls and there's different endings. So we'll just try it out and see how it goes. Anyway, I've delayed long enough. Let's actually start the game. Oh, this art is so pretty though. Not gonna lie. Ah, how kind of you to finally grace us with your presence, Miss Coleridge. Samantha made a vague murmur of assent as she slunk into the couch, head bowed, trying to avoid the eyes of her peers. How long had they been waiting for her anyway? Miss Pope's tone made it sound as though it had been hours upon hours, but Samantha knew that couldn't be right. Sure, she had woken up a little late, try 20 minutes late, but she had dressed as quickly as she could, to the point where it had caused her genuine physical harm. It was all because of her socks. It was almost always because of her socks. The stupid things were a lethal hazard. Whilst teetering on her left foot, trying to pull one sock up over her right knee, Samantha had slipped and lost her balance, cracking her head against the side of her bed as she fell to the floor. Stupid socks. They'd caused her injury more times than she could count. Why had she bothered to get out of bed at all? Being scolded by her least favorite teacher. Wait, that's a teacher? Lies. Lies, game. You tell me to look at this face and expect me to believe that that's a teacher? All the while suffering from the after effects of blunt force trauma was not the best way to start the day. It was a shame. It was a shame. She'd been looking forward to this trip for a while, too. About as much as she'd been able to look forward to anything these days. Miss Coleridge, what are you dawdling for? Well, you have already wasted enough time, and we're on a tight schedule. I know you young girls enjoy being at the center of attention, but don't you think you've made enough of a spectacle of yourself as it is? Why does this person look like another child? I'm even taller than her, but she's supposed to be a teacher? Excuse me? Someone explain? Game, explain yourself. Yes, miss. I'm sorry. And again with the apologies. You always apologize. As your apologies mean anything when you make them so often. Or as if you're, I'm sorry? You're just proving my point. Samantha stared resolutely at the floor. She didn't want Miss Pope to know she was blushing. She didn't want to give her the satisfaction. It was strange just how much hatred Miss Pope was capable of exuding, particularly given she was so small. How could a person so tiny, almost elfin in their appearance, possess so much contempt towards their fellow man? But maybe that was the reason why Miss Pope was so perpetually grumpy. Samantha had suspected for a while now that her teacher had a chip on her shoulder about her childish appearance. A chip so large it was nearing the size of the Amazon rainforest. Okay, that explains some things, but it's like insane how much she looks like a child. Insane. Samantha had never asked because she knew doing so would be tantamount to suicide, but she got the feeling Miss Pope had been bullied a lot as a child. I'll try not to be late anymore. Rather, I have been trying. Clearly, you haven't been trying hard enough. Trying isn't particularly useful if it doesn't yield any results. Yes, miss. Miss Pope sighed. I don't say these things for fun, you know? Lecturing you on the same things day after day gets incredibly tedious. I have no desire to stand around berating a girl who has no capacity or capability of changing. Yes, miss. Now hurry up and take your seat. Yes, miss. I'm sorry. And I really do wish you'd stop apologizing so much. Yes, miss. Sorry, just double checking. And with that, her voice barely more than a whisper, Samantha brushed past Miss Pope to search for her seat. She could feel the eyes of her classmates boring into her back as she wandered down the coach. They were all talking amongst themselves. Their voices mingled together like twittering. Sorry, this is too loud. She could feel the eyes of her classmates boring into her back as she wandered down the coach. They were all talking amongst themselves. Their voices mingled together like twittering starlings. Sorry, I also need to turn down the music a bit. Okay. Samantha was sure they were laughing at her. They always did. Granted, she did give them a lot of material to laugh at, so she did not exactly fault them for it, but being the constant butt of everyone's jokes, it did become rather tedious after a while. Although Samantha usually took other people's jibes in good faith, she wasn't really in the mood for it. Not today. Not in front of her. Lillian. Oh, she cute! Can I date her? The blonde girl, a few months Samantha's senior, was sitting at the front of the coach, her hair tied up, as per usual. Unlike Samantha's, Lillian's uniform was never crumpled, creased, or wrinkled, and she always remembered to do up the top button of her blouse. Lillian's legs were demurely crossed, her tights devoid of holes or ladders, her hands, fingernails cut carefully, 10 perfect little crescent moons resting on her knees. Lillian turned her head, blonde hair shifting over one shoulder, and, for a few brief moments, her eyes met Samantha's. Samantha flushed, her cheeks turning deep red, and she turned away. She hadn't been staring, had she? She hoped she hadn't been staring. When it came to Lillian, Samantha always stared. She couldn't help herself. Oh, I think we're going to be able to date her. There was no denying it, even though she often tried to. Lillian really was beautiful. Though Samantha didn't want to look at Lillian, didn't even want to acknowledge her presence, she couldn't help herself. Samantha's eyes, what? Achievement unlocked already. Constancy to an ideal object. Alright, interesting. Samantha's eyes always sought Lillian out without her brain's consent, even though the end result was inevitable. I always want to say that word weird, I don't know why. The brief moment where their gazes crossed, the blushing and stammering, the embarrassed look away. Miss Coleridge, I will not ask you again. Would you please find your seat, or are you hoping to keep us waiting until next Christmas? Samantha jumped. Miss Pope's voice was cold, and it made the hairs at the back of her neck stand up on end. No, miss, I'm sorry. Head hanging, feet shuffling, she continued onwards, feeling much like a criminal being led to the gallows. Honestly. Miss Pope sighed, running one hand through her hair. I don't even teach geography. Why I had to give up my precious weekend to supervise this trip is beyond me. Maybe this is some kind of divine punishment. For once, Samantha agreed wholeheartedly with her sour-faced English teacher. Having Miss Pope act as a supervisor for this geography field trip really was a punishment. Not even Dante could have conceived of it. Oh! Oh, she cute too, though! Oh! All them curls. Oh! Oh gosh, what's the voice I want to give her? Hey, Sam, over here. Samantha found herself being waved over by her close friend, Roberta. The seat next to her was empty. She must have been saving it for her, despite Samantha's untimely arrival? Weird. Saving her a seat for so long showed dedication. Maybe it showed that, after 6 years of friendship, Roberta knew Samantha well enough to realize she was almost always late for everything. That's an unfortunate name to give such a pretty girl. I'm sorry. Like, Roberta, like, I don't know. It just doesn't fit her. Either way, Samantha was touched. Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate it. Oh, that's even a weirder nickname. It's no problem. Roberta surveyed her friend, a small frown on her face. She's kind of a sassier pose to her, though. Did you have a rough night? You can tell? The bags under your eyes are awful. Are they really that obvious? They really are. You'd have to be blind not to spot them. Nope, I'm not liking what voice I'm giving her. I don't know what to do. I'll fix it in the next line. Thanks, and I tried so hard to hide them too. A sigh. I guess I did a pretty lousy job. Samantha had never been very good at makeup, which was why she rarely bothered. Same, girl. Same. I don't even put on makeup unless it's a special event. Though, I want to change that one of these days. Oh well. She often wondered if her lack of makeup know-how was her mother's fault. Wasn't it the job of the mother to teach their daughter all the tricks of the trade when it came to lipstick, eyeliner, and eyeshadow? But Samantha's mother had never had the time. She was too busy. Much, much too busy to spend time with her daughter. Do you want to borrow any of my makeup? No, it's alright. I think it's too early in the morning for that. Samantha couldn't apply eyeliner worth a damn standing before a full-length mirror, so the prospect of her being able to do so successfully on a moving bus with only Roberta's handheld compact for reference was laughable. Oh well, suit yourself. You can tell me if you change your mind, though. By the way, you cut your hair last night, didn't you? Yes, I did. I don't know, I feel like the voice I gave her I should have given to the teacher. But oh well. Samantha fingered a lock of her newly shorn hair, twisting it about one finger. Maybe this had been a mistake. Although her hair was not short, just past her shoulders, it was still too short for comfort, and she couldn't hide behind it as successfully as once she had been able to. What is with the grammar of this? Come on, game! It left her feeling unpleasantly exposed, which only amplified the feeling of her fellow classmates' derisive stares. Samantha had never intended to cut her hair this short. She hadn't intended to cut it at all, not until yesterday. Looking back on it, she hadn't really been in her right mind. Maybe she should have slept on it. Do you think it looks nice? It's different. I'll say that much. I take it as a no then? Or I take it that's a no then? It's not a no exactly, it's just... Roberta hemmed and hawed judiciously, coiling a strand of her own hair around one finger. It looks funny. The ends are all different lengths. So it really does look bad. Well, it's alright. You don't need to try and spare my feelings. Even if you don't tell me it looks bad, I'm sure somebody else will at some point. I'd rather hear it from a friend first. It wouldn't look too bad if you had the ends straightened out, I suppose. At the moment, I'm just struggling to understand why. Why what? Why you cut it yourself? There are people you can pay to do that. Proper professionals. And if you really, absolutely had to do it yourself, couldn't you have gone to a salon afterwards so they could trim it for you? Of course, Roberta would offer a sensible solution. Roberta always offered sensible solutions. I suppose that would make sense, yes. I didn't really think it through. You've always been impulsive, haven't you? It wasn't impulsive, not really. I was thinking about cutting it for a while. Yesterday just seems like the right time. It seemed like the right time. Even though you knew we were going on our geography field trip today? That you were going to be sitting on a coach filled with your peers, all of whom will be judging you for hours? Well, you know I enjoy being at the center of attention, my dear Roberta. Miss Pope said it herself. Doesn't this seem characteristic of one as vain as I? Samantha tried to rebuff Roberta's query with a dry quip, but Roberta knew Samantha too well to be taken in. Rather than smiling, as Samantha had hoped, she instead frowned, her eyebrows furrowing. I get the feeling there's something you're not telling me. Well, I don't need to tell you everything. You're not my mother. Alright, fine. I'll be quiet. You don't need to bite my head off, though. I was only offering you my opinion, which you did ask for, don't forget. Samantha let her head hang, her fringe, the only part of her hair untouched by her merciless assault last night, obscuring her eyes. I know. I'm sorry, Bobby. I didn't mean to snap at you. I'm just tired. Oh, I didn't realize she... Oh my gosh, that's a precious face. But also, I didn't realize she was being snappy. Roberta sniffed. Sometimes I think you don't appreciate just how much I have to put up with, Sam. I know. I'm sorry. Nobody else would be foolish enough to open their door to you at 4 in the morning, you know? Especially not when you're convinced you're dying of a brain tumor because your teeth hurt. I am aware of that, Bobby, but you are exaggerating. That only happened once. It was one time out of many. If it isn't a pain in your teeth, it's a pain in your head, a pain in your ear, a pain in your side, a pain in your stomach. If you actually suffered from all the afflictions you claim to have, you'd be dead by now. Maybe I would be happier that way. No. No what? Don't even think about it. Don't even talk about it. The thought makes you that unhappy? The thought makes me angry. You mean you wouldn't miss me if I died? I never said I wouldn't miss you, but I would be annoyed at you. I didn't put this much effort into being your friend all these years for you to go and kill yourself. It would be incredibly rude of you. Samantha couldn't help but smile, even though Roberta's words were not exactly complimentary. I apologize. I'll try not to be selfish in the future. Good. I've invested too much into our friendship for you to throw it all away. I'm just trying to look out for you, Sam. You need somebody to take care of you, and I don't mind helping, but I wish you would appreciate me a little bit more. I do appreciate you, Bobby. Are you sure? I'm sure. I swear on it. Scout's honor. Roberta shook her head, bemused. You've never been a Girl Scout. Well, most people swear on their mother's life, but I haven't seen her in so long she may as well be dead for all I care. How morbid. You shouldn't speak about your mother like that. Maybe I wouldn't if she ever bothered to speak to me at all. Well, I suppose that will do. For the moment, anyway. Samantha stretched, bringing her arms up above her head. This is pretty. The carrier bag she held in her right hand rustled, the cans inside clinking together. She had dozed intermittently on the couch, her eyes flickering open every time the vehicle went over a bump in the road, and she now felt even sleepier than she had done before. Is it coach? The word is coach. I've been saying couch like a moron. I'm clearly too tired to read today. I don't know why I thought that was couch. It's clearly not. It's clearly not spelled the word couch. And yet my brain went couch and didn't think anything weird of it. Nom-Nom. Samantha didn't like taking naps, even though she so often felt tired these days. It never made her feel better. As such, she had vowed to herself that she was going to rectify this problem, if not for her own sake, then Roberta's. She couldn't imagine that her friend was happy about being used as a pillow. When the bus stopped at a service station, Samantha's first port of call had been a small shop within the building, namely to the aisle that sold energy drinks. She had bought 4 or 5 cans of some random drink. She'd never had that brand before, but the can was decorated with tiger print, so it must have been effective, right? And was now making her way back to the coach. The sky above her head was overcast, festooned with gray clouds. Though the sky seemed to promise rain, the air was cool and crisp. It was a sharp contrast to the air inside the coach, which was stuffy and oppressive, having been filtered through almost 30 mouths millions upon millions of times. The outside world felt and smelt far cleaner. It was refreshing. Samantha had no real desire to set foot back on the coach again. It felt supremely self-defeating, like bricking oneself up inside a wall. Unfortunately, she did not have much of a choice. With a resigned sigh, Samantha stepped back onto the coach. Instantly, she was greeted by rows of red chairs, lined up neatly beside one another, like unusually garish graves in a graveyard. Samantha was not fond of coaches. She found their movements lurching and unpredictable, and she hated being confined within them. Just how much further did they have to go anyway? Samantha thought to ask the driver, but he wasn't there. In fact, after scouring the coach, Samantha soon discovered she was one of the only people there. A couple of girls were sat in the middle of the coach, both asleep, and Samantha could spy a familiar splash of bright blue hair to her left, but that was it. And speaking of bright blue hair, Samantha tensed. Just how many other people at St. Mary's had such an outlandish hair color anyway? Dyed, obviously. Could only be one person. Hello! You're cute in a weird, quirky way. I love it. Also, music, you suddenly jumped up. Can we calm down, maybe? Tabitha De Quincey, known to most of the girls at St. Mary's as De Quincey, was seated near the front of the coach, hunched over herself so her back made an arch. She was holding something in both her hands, and Samantha noted her shoulders were shaking. Upon further investigation, Samantha discovered, with no small amount of alarm, that De Quincey was crying. She could not see the girl's face, but she could hear her. Okay, this music is, while really pretty, is being kind of extra right now. Okay. She could hear her. Small, broken sobs emitted from her mouth, even though it seemed she was trying as hard as possible to rein them in. Samantha's grip on her carrier bag tightened. The plastic crackled. What should she do? She still had not forgotten what had occurred between herself and De Quincey a couple of months ago, and, as close as the two girls had once been, Samantha had been trying her very best to avoid De Quincey ever since that day. What happened? Also, I'm gonna save. Should she continue to uphold her resolution, even now? She was the only person right now who knew De Quincey was crying, so did that make it her responsibility? What if something bad had happened to the other girl? Sudden death of a family member? A close friend? A beloved childhood pet? Samantha dithered uncomfortably, unsure. Even though De Quincey was in tears, it had nothing to do with her. She did not owe De Quincey anything, even though she had, Samantha reflected with a twinge of guilt, borrowed all that money from her last term. Moreover, she may have been sobbing over something private, something she did not want others to know about. Asking her about it could very well make the matter worse. De Quincey was so lost in her mourning she had not even noticed Samantha was there. Samantha could easily have slipped past her, back into her own seat, without her knowing Samantha had seen her. It was perfect. It was perfect, so why weren't her feet moving? Oh, I gotta make a choice. Would her conscience let her ignore a girl who had once been her friend? Okay, yeah, definitely need to save. Yes, game. Let's try. Let's approach. De Quincey? Samantha approached the girl slowly, with the same hesitancy one would use if they were dealing with a rabid dog. Just what was she expecting anyway? Did she think De Quincey was going to bite her? The other girl might have been somewhat shameless, but not even she would have done something that outrageous. Not while she was sober, anyway. Drunk, on the other hand... How old are these girls? What the heck? No, Samantha did not want to think about that. She was not thinking about that. DeQuincy lifted her head, blinking up at Samantha. Her eyes were red and puffy, swollen from tears, and she looked so very pitiful, Samantha found she could not remain anxious for too long. What did she have to be afraid of, really? DeQuincy looked like a wreck. She looked even more miserable than Samantha had felt these last 3 months, which was quite an achievement. Oh gosh, what voice should I give her? Sam, you're finally speaking to me after all this time? I suppose I am. I couldn't just ignore you, not when you look so miserable. It would be quite unforgivable, I think. Even though Samantha had, for a few moments, been pondering whether she should do exactly that. She didn't tell DeQuincy that, though. She didn't need to know. Sam. Oh, Sam, and I thought you would never speak to me again. You really are a sweetheart after all. I hate this. I hate that voice. Perhaps. I find it hard to keep grudges. They all seem so pointless. They just make people unhappy. That's true. I have been feeling quite bad over what I did. I know I should not have done it. I'm just impulsive, I suppose. DeQuincy smiled shakily through her tears, which were still dripping down her cheeks, and sniffed. She wiped her eyes with the back of her arm, perhaps attempting to make herself more presentable, and sat up a little straighter. Oh, I can say no to a face like that. So, if you don't mind me asking, and the subject matter is not too delicate for you to discuss, why are you crying? Did something bad happen? Something bad, huh? I guess you could say that. It was pretty bad. What was it? It's hard to explain. I don't know if you would understand. Maybe nobody would. Maybe not. We all grieve in different manners. If there's anything I can do to help, do not hesitate to ask. I can hardly leave you when you look so very unhappy. Thanks. Well... DeQuincy gave Samantha a watery smile, her lower lip trembling. I guess there's no easy way to deal with such a thing. The death of a loved one is always painful. It hurts. Though I know it's silly, it really does hurt. Samantha's eyes widened. So it was as she had thought. DeQuincy really had lost a loved one. And recently, too, by the sounds of it. Samantha was no stranger to bereavement. Her own father had died when she was only 7 years old, and was a memory that had stayed with her, following her from place to place more persistently than her own shadow. She could remember sitting in the parish church of Ottery St. Mary, with its vaulted ceiling and its stone arches, listening to the vicar as he conducted his service. Samantha had grown restless and started to gnaw at her fingernails during the vicar's speech, nibbling them down into stumps. Her mother had noticed and had been less than impressed. Through her tears, her mother had taken hold of Samantha's hand, crushing Samantha's fingers beneath her own with a little too much strength, and had hissed at her to just sit still and listen. That had stunned. Samantha hadn't been fidgeting out of callous carelessness. She had loved her father. She still loved him even now, even though he was dead. She had been fidgeting because she had been anxious, and she had been sad, and she had been trying to distract herself from her own melancholy thoughts, which were growing more and more oppressive by the second. But her mother had not known that. Her mother never knew that. She had never been able to understand how Samantha thought. Samantha didn't want to be like her mother, curt and inconsiderate. Instead, she wanted to be kind and caring. Maybe that was why she had, despite her own worries, chosen to pause and speak to DeQuincy. Now that she had committed herself, she could not just turn and leave. I really am sorry for your loss, Tabitha. When did you hear the news? Oh, it was fairly recent. Only a few minutes ago, actually. A few minutes? Samantha frowned. What did DeQuincy mean by that? Had one of her family members sent her a text message? That must have been it. That sounded like quite a harsh way to break the news over a recent death, though. Technology was convenient, but it could be so impersonal. That's right. It was so sudden, too. I mean, I already got a few bad endings, but I really thought I could prevent it this time. I was so convinced. Wait, is she playing a game? She's playing a game. Oh, frick this.